So I want to give you a kind of an overview and some of my thoughts in terms of this NAR settlement and what does it really mean for an agent? And I mean like tactically day to day, what do we need to be prepared for? And how do we really approach this industry right now? And I'll tell you right now, my biggest encouragement I would tell you to start off with is every agent should act like a new agent. I think no matter what, we should all just go ahead and act like we're brand new to this. Because there's enough changes in our industry, specifically over the last couple of years, that we really need to have a mindset of a fresh approach. So if we started with a fresh approach, what we need to come down to is making sure we're very clear about the value and the service that we really provide. I mean, look, I know many of you guys being in the management side of this, working with a very, very large brokerage for many number of years, I've watched so many agents do phenomenal things for their clients. And quite honestly, we do not do a great job at really articulating exactly the service and the level of service and what we truly deliver for our clients and why we're needed so much. And so I would tell you to start there. So many of you know this, you've heard me say this for years. If you just go look at the last 10 buyers that you worked with. So if we just talked about the buyer side, please go calculate what's your monetary value. So for example, if I write up an offer on a buyer's property, as I write the offer and as I negotiate and have the seller pay for things, it may or may not be customary for the seller to pay for certain things. Whatever the case is, the way I write the offer and I ask the seller to pay for things, that's negotiating power that I'm utilizing on behalf of my client. That creates monetary value of why they need me. Because a client without a real estate agent at all, what would happen? The listing agent would then prepare the contract. As they prepare the contract, are they negotiating for whom? Who are they negotiating best for? Who they're already obligated to, which is the seller. Unless, of course, they go into a different intermediary, transaction broker, whatever you want to call it, depending on what state you're in. So either way, I'm still going to negotiate for the client who originally hired me. So no matter what, that's how I'm going to structure that offer. So what I have to know is make sure as I'm clear about what's my offer presentation skills. What on average am I saving my client by them hiring me by just simply how I help them present an offer. Also, when you evaluate property, when you walk through a property, you are not a licensed inspector by any means, so hear me very clearly on that. But when you walk through a property, if you have any experience at this, you know if this house is a good buy. I'm never worried about a good price, but I'm always worried about a good buy. Is this property based on condition, location, all of the necessary components, is it the right buy for the right price for the right family? If the answer is yes, then I'm going to help them. Well, I'm going to use my expertise to help them foresee things that they may or may not, because a lot of times buyers, they get buyer fever. And sometimes they buy a house that maybe wasn't necessarily the right buy for all of their life and their family, but they just fell in love for whatever the reason. That's another level of expertise that you're providing and bringing to the table. The other thing is when we finally negotiate and we go under contract. And when we go under contract, what are we going to do? We're probably going to inspect the property, have it professionally inspected. We're going to use that. We're going to find things. We're going to negotiate for repairs, requests, have the seller do some things, provide concessions, credits, etc. All of that has a monetary value that added up to your expertise and your profession of what justifies your fee. So what I would tell you is go back through all of those things and add up those key points and add those to your monetary value. Because it's very simple. If you knew that every buyer that considered whether or not they were going to sign your compensation agreement and they were questioning your cost and your fees and what they may or may not have to pay you, how much more confident would you be if you could tell them, the last 10 people that I helped, I saved them and made them more than what my fee even was? Because for most of you, if you went back and actually did the math, I'm telling you, most of you would be able to do that. Now, there's many that wouldn't, and this is why we have this agreement, but there's also many that would. And that's what I would tell you. For those that would, for those that we know you're good, please go do that. Do it for yourself. Do it as a fun exercise just for you, just for your own confidence on how to approach this new market, okay? The other thing I want to give you is kind of a side note on where to approach this NAR settlement is really looking at how we should be representing clients. What's really the reason why this came about and why this currently exists, and to be honest with you, why it should exist. The reason why it should exist, it actually looks a lot like the commercial field, much like we've been operating in, is that you have to get people to hire you and pay you to provide a service. And that is, in any other industry, it's almost been a unique component that we went to the opposing party and asked them to pay us to negotiate against them. That's actually how the world's been structured. So by bringing it around to where there still may be a time where they still may pay us for bringing us their buyer, however, being sure, being confident about moving forward, that anybody should hire you is actually a wonderful time to be, okay? It's a great time to be in this because for those of you that are good at, especially as a listing agent, there's really not much different for those of you as listing agents in terms of how you go approach it, how you have a consultation, needs analysis, get them to sign an agreement, and they hire you and agree to pay you specifically out of closing. Now, here's the other one. Last but not least, all my new agents out there. If you're new to this business, if you're probably less than definitely 2 years or under in this business, and maybe because of COVID, maybe even 3 or 4. If you're probably within that range and you still feel very new and you're like, well, Dustin, I don't have 10 buyers to go back and look at to evaluate whether I did or didn't do a good job for them. I will tell you this is where your brokerage is going to become really, really important in your story because you're going to have to borrow another story until you can build your own. So like, for example, one of the reasons why we want to be a part of a really strong, powerful brokerage is you want to borrow the story of all the other amazing agents in your brokerage and use those people as mentors and guides so their story can become your story and you can actually establish value and learn and listen at the same time. If you will do that, I tell everybody is you never have a problem with the new server at a restaurant as long as they tell you that they're new. Because when they make mistakes and they forget things, if they act like they've been doing it this whole time, you get frustrated with them. But if you know they're new, you tend to have more grace and more patience with them. In fact, you even kind of want to help them along the process a little bit more. Own that same place. Don't fake it until you make it. If you fake it, you're never going to make it. So be clear, be true to who you are, be clear about who you are in this moment, and all you need to make a commitment to is that you will just work hard for people. In fact, I'll leave you with this. I tell everybody this all the time. A great agent makes all of their money and earns all of their fees from offer to pend, depending what side you're representing. And the other thing is a great agent never knows all the answers. They just know everyone that does. If you'll just remember those two things, you'll be able to navigate this market moving forward, especially if you're brand new to this. And I wish you the most success and all the best, and follow along. We'll keep you updated as we go. Take care.